Today we're going to be looking at the 2014 Mazda 6 sedan that's been totally redone this year. And the second half of the video we'll be looking at the 2014 Mazda CX-5 SUV, which is a similar version of this but with more utility. We'll be looking at the Mazda car for the first half of the video. If you want to fast forward to the middle of this, you can pick up the Mazda CX-5 SUV on the second half of the video. This is a nice looking car from the front, and it's also nice looking from the side view. Not bad looking from the rear either. Got a nice big trunk back here. The Mazda 6 has a nice looking interior. The quality of materials and workmanship is very good. The gauge cluster is well designed, easy to read. The climate control system uses knobs, very simple to use. Same thing with the radio, in spite of the fact it has a navigation. Knobs always work better than buttons and switches, but a lot of manufacturers are getting away from this. Get a nice large glove box, even larger if you take that owner's manual out and stick it in the trunk. And there's plenty of room in the back seat here, at least for someone like me that's 5'10". Over 6 feet, well, you'll squeeze in here. The only engine offered is a 184 horsepower, 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, rated at 26 miles per gallon in the city and 38 on the highway. A 6-speed manual is offered, but most of them will come with a 6-speed automatic like I had. Last year's Mazda 6 gave me around 22 in the city and around 34 on the highway. This car is a little bit lighter. I'm assuming it might do better. Right now I'm getting 22 miles per gallon in heavy city driving, however. The Mazda 6 is fairly pleasant to drive. The steering feel is very quick and responsive. The ride comfort is very good. The handling, well, this isn't a sports sedan, but it does very well for what is basically an economy car. The brake pedal feel is perfect. And even though this is a small engine, got more than adequate pickup. In all fairness, there is a bit of road noise on rough pavement, but it's nothing serious. And these seats are very comfortable too. Bottom line, this is a nice car for long trips, and you won't be disappointed. Now, there was one minor complaint I had with the Mazda 6. It concerned the bodywork under the door, known as the rocker panels to some. It's pretty wide, over 8 inches, far above average. What that means is when you're stepping out of the car, your pants leg rubs on the lower bodywork, and you can pick up mud and dirt. Now on the Mazda it's not too bad because the door panel covers most of the bodywork, and it's far better on the Mazda CX-5 SUV we'll look at later. But if you're driving where there's lots of mud, you might want to pay attention to keeping your car a little bit clean. Now the Mazda 6 has two so-called safety options that I have mixed emotions about. One's an automatic braking system called Smart City Brake Support. The way it works, if you're driving down the road and you're not paying attention because you're texting, talking on the phone, and you don't see that truck in front of you, the system slams on the brakes, saving your bacon. And I'm not going to actually do this here with a real truck, because if it doesn't work, I'll total a $30,000 car. However, I can demonstrate it on something else, as we'll see here. Now on the positive side, the automatic braking system stopped the car just before the cardboard, all by itself with no help from me. Now the question I had, what if this is a piece of cardboard blowing around in one of these Arizona dust storms we have? Will the car stop then too if this cardboard flies in front of the car? And what if I have a truck in back of me hauling about 10,000 pounds of tomatoes? Kaboom! I'm not sure I like this option. To my surprise, I also found out that hanging tree branches can cause the car to stop. Interesting. Now, I'm not picking on Mazda here because these systems are becoming standard on high-end German cars and optional on many other cars. It's also optional on the Mazda. You don't have to buy it. Furthermore, by operating controls on the dash, you can disconnect it. Although every time you restart the car, the system activates again. Just a tip, you can deactivate the system entirely by just simply taping over the laser sensor hole. For those who bought a Mazda with everything on it and just can't figure out how to turn this off. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing that should be controlling a car is the driver, not the car. And for those who want to sit there and text on their phone and don't pay attention to stuff in front of the windshield like this, you shouldn't be driving. These are not safety devices. They're devices that simply encourage bad driving, and I don't care for them at all. But as always, it's your choice. If you want these devices, they're here for sale. Now, the less expensive Mazda 6 cars I've driven have standard headlights. The upgraded vehicles have the high output xenon headlights. And as you can see, on high beam they're very bright and go a long distance on the freeway. But there's a downside. Now look at the difference on low beam. The light is bright to be sure, but from a distance of 68 feet away, the light is only about 20 inches off the ground, and it gets lower as it goes along, making it difficult to see signs on the freeway. And if you're driving on the back roads where there's deer and antelope roaming around, it makes it difficult to see wildlife, especially when you go in dips, in which case the headlights disappear completely. From the car, again, see the difference between high and low. So if you're driving on back roads, you're going to have to use your brights a lot more often, and that's just the way it is. Something to understand if you do a lot of night driving. The base Mazda 6 starts around $22,000. Mine was loaded up with everything, so at $31,000. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 9.8. Deducting a couple points only because of the wide rocker panels under the door. As far as a laser operated braking system and the headlights I didn't like, I'm not going to dwell on that because most manufacturers are offering these as options now, and that's a separate issue. If you don't like the item, just don't order it or disconnect it. Bottom line, this is a very, very excellent sedan, equal to anything Toyota or Honda puts out. And if I was in the market for a sedan in this price range, this would be my first choice. Now let's switch over to the Mazda CX-5 SUV, which is based on this vehicle, which I found to be even better. We're going to take a look at the Mazda CX-5 SUV, which would probably be easier for me if I didn't have this horned nuisance staring at me. Got a mean look on his face. Well, we'll get back to the car after I get back in. He's coming over here. Oh, talking to me as well. This is a look at the vehicle from the rear. Uh-oh, he's coming back looking at my rear. I might get a horn in my butt, so I'm getting back in the car. Nice meeting you. There are two engines available in the CX-5. First is a 155 horsepower, rated at 26 in the city, 35 on the highway. And for 2014, we get this engine here, a bigger 2.5 liter, putting out to 184 horsepower, and the mileage drops to 25 city, 32 highway. Actually, I had both engines. I had the 155 horsepower first, got around 26 in the city, 28 average. Didn't have much power though, but it was more than adequate. And then of course I had this one last. It has all the pep you'll ever need. Gas mileage on this one has been 23 in heavy city driving, about 25 mixed, around 27, 28 at 75 mile per hour plus cruising. Personally, I'd rather drive this engine, but then again, I do a lot of driving. If it was going to be my nickel, I would seriously consider the smaller 155 horse. It's pretty hard to find an SUV that gets 28 miles per gallon in average driving nowadays. Either one's a good choice. And they're hooked up to 6-speed automatic transmissions, which I found to operate quite well. I don't know about you, but I have some pet peeves on cars I'm driving nowadays. Things that I just don't like. For instance, I'm sick and tired of small glove boxes, only big enough to hold a glove. Fortunately, we don't have that problem in the Mazda. This isn't the biggest glove box in town, but for a car this size, it's more than adequate, so they get some points there. The other thing I'm tired of is getting in a vehicle and not being able to turn on the air conditioning with simple knobs. You know what I'm talking about, all that push button stuff, computerized. Once again, the Mazda engineers were listening. Simple. Fan speed, temperature, mode, that's it. Very, very simple. Why can't all automakers do this? And speaking of knobs, I like radios with a simple volume and tuning knob. Once again, Mazda was listening. So that's 3 out of 3 right there. Another item I've been complaining about are automatic dimming mirrors that don't have an off switch. Automatic dimming mirrors were intended for freeway driving, so when a big truck gets in back of you or a person has their brights on, you won't be blinded. But in heavy city driving, changing lanes with auto dimming mirrors just doesn't work. Not with pedestrians and bicyclists without lights on your right. It's very dangerous, and I don't like them. If they don't have an off switch, the only thing you can do is put a piece of tape over the sensor hole. But Mazda was thinking again, because we have an off switch right here. Just turn it off and that's all you have to do. So they got some more points here too. This attention to detail is one of the things I like about the Mazda CX-5. Also, all the controls that we have not mentioned are very well placed, easy to use. The gauge cluster is simple. Aside from the color, the first one I had was tan, looked nice. This is sort of a dark black taxi cab. I have no complaints about this interior at all. It's very, very nice. Mazda did an excellent job. Actually, there's a fifth pet peeve I forgot to mention. On many vehicles nowadays, the door cuts off too abruptly. Exposing bodywork means when you get in the vehicle and out, you're rubbing your pants on the rocker panels, getting your pants dirty. I'll show you a video from another vehicle to show you what I'm talking about. Once again, this is not a problem with the Mazda. See, the whole door comes down to here, covers up the entire inside bodywork. It always stays clean, which means your pants stay clean. Amazing. Why can't other car makers do this? Very few are nowadays. So that's 5 areas that the Mazda engineers are actually paying attention to. So you're getting the hint. I'm impressed with Mazda engineering. If you like going camping or other outdoor trips, you might be interested to know this little SUV can hold an awful lot of gear. Here's the stuff I brought, and I still have the other third in the vehicle. You can really pack the stuff in this little car. In everyday driving duties, the CX-5 is a real treat to drive. The steering is absolutely perfect, light and responsive, like many sports cars I've driven. The ride is very comfortable, even on these rippled roads I'm commuting on. Cornering ability is pretty good for what is an SUV. The handle's about as good as their sports sedans. And the brakes work just fine. The pedal has a very nice firm feel, the way it should. Very responsive. Once again, the engineers did their job. in this category, just as they did with the other categories. I guess I could say this is a very well engineered machine. Just as a point of interest, I'm riding the Airstream in back of this truck at 65 miles per hour, and I'm actually getting 43 miles per gallon. Amazing. Come on. Come on. I'm defying death here. Last time he chased me all the way over the fence. Come on. All right, enough. Just for the record, I've been driving out here all morning and I'm getting just under 25 miles per gallon, if that interests anybody. Just thought I'd toss it in for the record. In the auto industry, I have a reputation among some people as being a hatchet man, and the fact that if there's something wrong with the car, I'll find it and I'll talk about it. In this case, I can't find anything wrong with the Mazda CX-5. It's about as perfect as it gets. An economical engine, smooth ride, great handling, attention to detail with the interiors I showed you on the video. If you live with a $30,000 price tag and that's fully loaded, you're going to get a well-engineered car. I don't know what else to say. A very nice vehicle. By the way, this is what the CX-5 looks like after it's had a nice bath, compared to the dusty scenes we did earlier. Oops!